All right, you guys handled Minneapolis North, beat them by 10 in the quarterfinals of the state tournament, Williams Arena. I remember that St. Cloud Tech game in the semis at the Civic Center as they seemed like they were a pretty similar team to you guys in a lot of ways, and that was a pretty hard-fought, close game. What do you guys remember about that game?
I remember being really tired, the most tired that game. You know, we played the last game against North. I'm pretty sure it was the last game Thursday night, and then we're playing midday on Friday. And they were a similar team to us, disciplined, probably similar height, and that was a dicey game. That was a close game. But I remember being, it's kind of this, we don't play a lot of back-to-back games in those days, a lot of tournaments and all that kind of stuff, and just being tired that next day was one memory I have.
Same thing, and I do have a confession to make.
Here we go.
Because I came out in that first half, and I only averaged about 10 points a game, but I hit like 5 long shots to start out the first half, and it was the first time all season, like the buzzer goes off, I'm running there. Of course, I'm ecstatic, we're winning, but I'm like, man, I'm going to have a huge scoring game. This is going to be great. And I couldn't get off a shot the second half. I guess I shot twice. I didn't score the second half, so, it all ended great, but, they
would have been threes, though. They would have,
Yeah, but
Were they preventing you from shooting, or you just missed shots, or what?
No, I only shot twice because I think they said, hey, this guy's hit 5, and I'm not going to call him jump shots. He's hit 5 set shots in a row. We got to get out and guard this guy. At least put your hand up at your waist. And they did, and I didn't get a shot off.
In the first half.
In the second half, I didn't get a shot off, but I had 10 points the first half, 0 in the second. But they were a really solid team, and of course, they were similar to us, and they didn't have any so-called superstars either, but they're very, very good fundamentals, team-oriented, and that was our closest game of the state tournament.
Yeah. All right, so you move past those guys, get to the state title game. Obviously, Duluth East, they got the twin brothers, the 7-footer, and his twin brother is 6'7", or whatever he was. What do you guys remember about that game?
Well, I think it's just like, obviously, it really, to me, after the North game, was like, wait a second, we have a chance here. I think going into North, I don't know if any of us really gave ourselves a chance of winning the whole thing. We were ranked number 4 or 5 or something like that in the state, so highly ranked, but you had North, Duluth East, Chaska ahead of us. And so the East game is like all of a sudden, obviously we're in the state championship game, so we came back here during the day just to get away from the hotel and to be able to kind of rest. We did a walkthrough in here with David Ebner having a little badminton racket to mimic the Dudek brothers. And so we kind of went through a walkthrough here in the gym, but just got away from, so we could focus and again, be away from the hotel in St. Paul. And the moment was one of those where we're just all of a sudden we're in the state championship game. And again, it's just, I think we went into that game with just it almost, to me, I don't remember feeling nervous. I don't know what my expectations were, but it was just like we just go about our way of doing business, and that's what we did. And again, I think it helps too that the year before they had been in state, we'd had success at Jefferson, so it's like, to me, the moment, even though it was my first time at state, didn't feel too big.
And that's interesting to hear Tim say this. We've never really talked about that specifically, but I feel the exact same way. Like Minneapolis North, that was the one I think we were all a little afraid about. And once we beat them, there was no thought in my mind that we were not going to win the state tournament. I mean, I went in there in the next 2 games with complete confidence that we were winning. So it was not intimidating playing against them.
Right.
So talk your strategy. Obviously, they got a big team, 7-footer. I do remember Nelly doing a lot of banging and kind of playing behind Dudek.
Yep.
What other things do you remember specifically? Certain plays, other strategies going into that state championship game against East? What do you guys remember?
I probably remember more the second half, and the rumor is that Coach said something to Johnny at some point in that game and just said, team player, unselfish, but kind of like, this is a moment that, we need you to score. I don't know what the exact words were, but in that second half, there was a light under him that he just never turned on. He could have, but all of a sudden he had guys in his face, sweeping the ball through, taking tough shots, and made like 3 or 4 in a row. And it was just, to me, that was it's just, I get goosebumps now thinking about it, but, that was a huge turning point for us. We were in the game. I don't know what the score was, but I'm guessing at half it was tied or close. But it was probably that third quarter, early fourth quarter, where Johnny started just taking over the game offensively, which was huge. And then we get a lead, and then they start fouling, and then this man takes over from there.
Well, and I remember the exact same thing. I've seen the videotape a few times, and whenever I've went back and watched the tape, what really stands out to me, and I know what I was feeling at the time, I think everyone on our team was kind of afraid to shoot. I mean, they're just, as a clock starts winding down, and, it's hard to shoot in a big arena like that, like the St. Paul Civic Center, so your depth perception's not real good and so on, and just the nerves kind of start getting on you. I don't want to be, missing 2, 3 shots in a row. And I think everyone was a little bit afraid to shoot except Johnny. And Johnny took over the game. And same thing. It brings, just goosebumps to me. He took every big shot. And I don't know if it was 3 or 4 in a row. It seemed to me like it was 6 or 7. I mean, in the second half, he was a guy who wanted the ball and took every big shot and hit every big one.
And then talk about, I remember their guards, whoever was guarding you was trying to take charges as you're dribbling down the court. And then getting to the free throw line makes 10 of 10 to kind of seal the game, and talk about what's kind of going through your mind when you're shooting those free throws to kind of seal it.
Well, I think the key is always, try to hit the front end of a 1-and-1, because there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I was not a great free throw shooter. I only shot about 65% for the year. So I think if I go there and miss 2 1-and-1s in a row, who knows? I mean, I might miss 5 in a row. I don't know. But it was one of those things, if you make a couple and you're feeling confident, you make a couple more, and then at the end, please follow me. I'm going to make these.
Yeah, that's what got kind of hilarious was after you had made like 6 in a row, then I think it was Norlander, the kid from Duluth East, and just kept throwing his body in front of you. I mean, not even close to planting his feet, and then falling to the ground. He fouled you, and then you go back, just flopping, and then you make a couple more free throws. And there was still time where they could have tried to foul somebody else, but their strategy didn't change, and that was. It was kind of fun to watch, and obviously it was, at the time, I think, was, or maybe still stands as a record in state tournament play, 10 for 10 free throws, but I think it was in the last minute and 20 seconds that Greg scored 10 free throws.
Yeah,
just
every
time.
You finished with 18 in that game.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And okay, so seal the game is over. This is one of the great, really, I probably haven't thought about this enough, but as far as like my athletic career, when you guys won it, the Jefferson crowd just stormed the court, and it was a phenomenal experience. Talk about being players in that game. I was a 7th grader, but talk about playing in that game and having your fans just...
one highlight that I haven't really thought about much either, but as whatever, I would have been a 5th grader, I think, when Lingenfelter won in '76, and watching those games. So I was at each of those games when Jefferson won their first state title. And I'll never forget, at the Civic Center, after we won, the scoreboard. And you look up, Bloomington Jefferson just, rolling across the scoreboard. And so when the crowd ran the court, and we're just, psyched and celebrating, I'll never forget, I looked up, and I hadn't probably thought about that since 5th grade, but I look up and there's Bloomington Jefferson on the scoreboard again, and that was us. So just how cool of a feeling was to look up and see that was amazing.
Same thing, just euphoric feeling, and I just remember, they just, back then, they were letting just the masses come down the court, which of course they don't let happen anymore, but all I remember is all these high school kids, these classmates of ours, and then my grandpa Lyle, this like 65-year-old guy, just like forearming people and running over people and giving me a big hug, and I'll never forget that.
So how does this rank? Like, obviously we've all lived our lives and decades have passed, but looking back, just how fondly do you look back on winning a state title with your buddies at a school that, you know, that you cared about and you had a good high school experience? How do you guys look back on that state title, 82?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, to me, it's the highlight of my sports career. And there are other highlights. You're playing, you winning, you know, watching my kids play and all that. But from a sports perspective, and you nailed it, we were a team. And, oh, by the way, my brother was on the team. My dad was a coach. And we win state, you know, not expecting necessarily to win it. And, again, just to have such a close-knit team do that was, for me, it's the highlight of my sports career. And I think we've had some good highlights in our community and then in our family. But this one's number one for me.
And it's absolutely the highlight of my, you know, sporting career. And I think part of it, too, is just the friendships that have always remained. I mean, there's, you know, 4 or 5 teammates on that team that I speak to frequently. And, you know, that's the best part of it. It's just, you know, it was that great moment that, you know, just we would have always, I think, stayed in touch anyway because it was just going through the whole process together. But just having that icing on the cake, and, you know, now that we're a little bit older, and it's kind of nice to talk about the glory days and bring back some smiles and some laughs, and it was an unbelievable experience.
It's a bond. You guys have a bond now, probably, you know, the rest of your lives.
Absolutely.